that would be very good. First and foremost, I would like to salute all the participants. I'd like to thank the ASSAM management in this regard. I'll talk about Saladin Eyyubi and I'll talk about the public order in Egypt. It is a certain period, and this is under a certain registration, and there are records in this. In terms of the public order, it is only Salatin Mahmud Sengi is an idea of the management. They have a strategy back then, and the strategy is the Islamic strategy, and all the elements of the state work on this strategy and organize accordingly. One complements the other. All the elements and their activities should be evaluated within that perspective. A madrasa establishment or an establishment of a water hole is important. It's about the strategy they had. Saladin, within that perspective, had a 5-year of a public order between 1169 and the time in the last 19 years. He stopped by the capital of their own state as Egypt turned into a piece of island of peace. And the project is that there is a secure capital, secure Egyptian seas, and in terms of the water, in terms of the inlands in the Mediterranean, they are protected from the Byzantium, and Tunis, Sudan, and Yemen, they were occupied and conquered. And when we look at these, the problems are the fact that they cannot be away from the places, and they cannot be away from the places in terms of time and in terms of distance. And therefore, the capital can be in order. There will be 3 subjects that I will address at the subject between before Saladin, Saladin's public order experience, and the Saladin's public order politics. In the first 25 years that Egypt was conquered, and there's Amelia part. This is the golden age, and there is the even Abbasis were established. The Egypt was neglected, like all the geography, and in every 100 years in Egypt there is a new environment that was born, and have been told in 868 comes to that place a Turkish military personnel, and there is the independence, but there is a new Turkish state, and they cannot come up with a solution to the Egyptian problems. And within that period, in Northern Africa, there is a Fatimi state was established, and the Islamic realm was divided into 3, and there is 5 years later, Shia Fatimiyya state was established, and Egypt was the capital. There was the Cairo was established as a state. There is an abnormal situation there because the Fatimiyas is a Shia state. However, most of the people of Egypt was Ahl Sunnah. Ahl Sunnah. So they are living in alliance with the Egyptian people, Fatimiyya state. In order to have the Sunni state, this, uh, the Sunni state were not convinced with that, and they had the Christians over the Muslims. After 100 years, the Fatimiyya state cannot be managed by the Imam of Fatimiyya, and upon that, Fakhri Jebali is invited to the headquarters, and there's a vizier state. There's a Fatimiyya state in the beginning. There is a sultan and however Fakhri Jebali, if we can say so, is conducts operation, and he tries to have the public order. However, there are problems among the viziers, and for Fatimiyya state, there's a lack of public state, and this is a way of becoming this disrupted the state. The Fatimiyya Imamate, for this becomes a guarantee for Fatimiyya Imametin, and Fatimiyya Imametin, in order to protect himself, he has many soldiers, and in around Antep, there are many Armenians. They were settled in Egypt. There is a military order was established, and among the viziers that caused the opposition to go to the west, and Sheikho, for 2 times he has the mobilization to Egypt, and this is the case in Egypt. And after that, there is the Salatin experience I'd like to talk about. He's from a family of order, and before Zengi Atabeyli in Şirket city, Necmettin Eyüp was a civil governor, and Shah Konser is the security guard of the security commander of the state. And after the city was taken by Millettin, the family was given to management of the city. Selahattin assumed the role of the security commander, and there are many good poems about this. Selahattin Yusuf Necmettin Eyüp is the name. All the thieves have fear because of women cut their fingers when they see Selahattin, and Selahattin cuts the hands of the thieves. That was a poem about him, and in the second mobilization of Turchkov, he's in Babin war. He has an important commander. He has the wins the war over Crusades, and he is a good diplomat, and in the Crusades and the Egyptians, they recognize Selahattin among the process, and in Selahattin's order there are a few topics about it. He works on the public order disrupting groups that should take over. He works for the Crusades, and then there's El Jawhar. There is he takes over a palace, a secretariat, and there are the Sudanese military personnel, and he takes over the Armenians supporting him. And in the beginning, he makes the palace secure, and after that, from the Mamluks, he appoints a Karakush, and he takes over the palace. I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to point out one thing. This is Fatimi Imameti is the last castle that he burns down, and so he is all the barons have rich classes and richness is disrupted by him as a last resort. And the second one is that the state cadre, state staff was established. Some of them were the family members, and there's a cadet father from the old system. There are some personalities taken under his service, and following that, and for this negotiation team, he constructs a very nice castle for them, so that this staff can work in a very secure place. It is a 1173 as of the date. And then he establishes an important intelligence unit who are working both in the sea and both in the lands, and the opposition against Saladin, and the order disrupting teams and groups as a result of crusade relations. They're always in connection with the external powers, and they are trying to take over Selahattin in this way. However, Selahattin increased the intelligence, and he makes a very low-cost operations, and there are some sudden attacks so that the people, the other parties can be disillusioned, and with that, he makes all the parties surprised. There are the religious personnel, and there are Turkmen intelligence officers, and there are Christians, and there are crusades as well, crusade ambassadors as well. He says that there are the hidden deceptions are better than the open deceptions, and there are two coups that he is confronted with, which covers an assassination against him in Fatimi time, and the other ones are after the Fatimi time. And the Byzantium and Crusades among ourselves have a talk, and of course the Turkmen staff recognizes the Byzantium and Crusades person that he's wearing a very expensive shoe, and he finds that the letter to be sent to Crusades, and he gives a number and a name of a person, an Armenian person, and he Selahattin catches Cevheri before he makes a riot, and he sees that one ship was coming to Dimyat, and before leaving the capital, he takes some measures of Turan, his brother, and he wins over the Dimyat war. And this is one of the most important Muslim Christian wars. He enters into war with 1,000 ships, and if the Muridian doesn't send a huge support, he doesn't make an investment, Selahattin is saved, and the Egypt was from the conquer, and there are Shia people, and they are the religious personnel, and there are ulama, there are some poems, and also there are some fortune tellers, but that Selahattin had the crusade leader followed, and he lets him come into the state, enter into the state, but before the riot takes place, he just oppresses the riot. It's a very attracting point is that as the riot involving military personnel can be needed, but he forgives them and all the historians appreciate that the time of Salatin. You have 4 minutes. So if I could, I hope that I could explain myself in 4 minutes. Selahattin establishes a very good postal service and organization, and at the end of this process, we can talk about the financial, the training, and education part of it. In Selahattin, when he goes to the Fatima Palace, he distributes all the assets to the people, including the crown, and he establishes a certain environment of trust, and then he has a zakat system in this regard. First, in a public order establishment in Egypt, we can say that this is a very important thing to be done. And he takes over the women, and there are they takes all the cut from the offices, and every 2 days he establishes the courts. He hears the Masali courts himself, and there's an integration of the state and the people in education aspect. It takes out a Darul Mayne for Shafi, it turns it into a madrasa for Shafis, and in the most Darul Ghazal, the entertainment center, is turned again in a madrasa. So there is a tasawwuf dargah established in near every madrasa. However, in order not to have them a separate organization, there is a Wishan who is appointed that they're under one system, and they're taken under one system under the state control. There are people and they are working with the same strategy, so that the preachers are there. These are the people who are financially satisfied in terms of they are happy with the state in terms of financial affairs, in terms of justice, and they start including the Bedouins, they start to serve the state. And Salatin, although this happens for the people who are making right, he appoints a Karakush from Turkish Memluks, and it is a Hükmül Karakush, and there are the Karakush staff that was established, and this is it. As it is the case in this state of Egypt, the people of Egypt think that the non-existence of order, public order, is very good. However, they were very surprised about the Karakush, and as I pointed out, and he closes the drinking places, and he has a certain registration system, and he defines that even that people and their people start working in the graveyards, whether they have any debts, if they don't have, there's some measures, if they have debts, that's what were paid by the state. And with the principles that they make a safe capital, safe Egypt, and that it turns into a safe and secure Egypt. Some of the Sunnis, they go to Sudan. Some of them go to Tunis, and under the Karakush, there's a different Karakush. In Sharafettin Karakush control, there is a new mobilization, and in Yemen there are the Shia presence, and Russia is sent to this place, and all around Egypt became a secure corridor for Egypt. So as a result, what I'd like to say is that what makes Selahattin's work easier is that the state has a certain strategy, the disruption of crusades, and all the elements within this scope was functioning, and between these elements there is a harmony, and there is a solidarity, and the people can have a strategy for the state, although there were some strict measures for the public order, for education, for the justice. They all played an active role in the establishment of this. One thing led to another. One institution was working very well. That they all have a strategic structure. I hope I could have explained myself. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Selahattin was listened to all the bragging about himself, and in this HF he attaches importance on negotiation, and he controls the HIJF to an extent. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the professor. I'd like to thank the participants. I hope that I was able to explain it at an extent that I can have. And as the historians, of course, they made use of what you have been telling about this man. Very good. In Selahattin Eyyubi, you have a very good science branch, and of course, it's about Selahattin Eyyubi. It's about the works of Selahattin Eyyubi rather than the period of Selahattin Eyyubi. Of course, he has a very special place in history, and of course, it's about the eradication of crusades. He is a very important commander, and of course, at this very stage, he has not only last year in the Congress. I'll talk about Nureddin Mahmut Özden. I'll talk about the Islamic strategy. It is a continuation of this. So this is also very important. If I couldn't have touched